All right, good morning. We're starting the Dewey Beach Planning and Zoning Commission meeting here on Saturday, February 17th. First thing we'll do is we'll convene the meeting, which is what we're doing now, and we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, republic for which it stands,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We're going to do a roll call. We have Dave Lyons. You're online, correct?
Present.
All right.
Jack Rutherford.
All right. Mike Harmer.
Dale Cook.
We have Fred Townsend.
Fred Townsend, town solicitor.
And Jim Duty's assistant town manager.
All right. And we have one other member on the way, which will give us our 4 here and 1 online. We're just going to go ahead and start talking about this, and then we can adopt the agenda when Jimmy gets here. Is that okay?
I think you could adopt the agenda.
All right, we'll go ahead and
I'll make a motion.
make a motion. Thank you, John.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 That's 4 in favor. All right, and no nays. So at this point, we'll go for approval of the minutes from the last meeting, which I emailed to the members. And Dave so graciously documented them very well, so thank you. I have no changes. Anybody motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
Jack with the second. And all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So we do have the public here. We got Gary and one other lady here, Cindy Souza, in the audience for the public. And what we'll do is we'll open the public hearing. I'll do a little brief of what we're going to do, and then we'll open it up. But basically, we're here to talk about 2 ordinances for possible recommendation or changes to the town commissioners. And one of them is relating to carbon monoxide detectors in our building code, and another is impervious surface requirements. And we were very fortunate that Dave Lyons had worked on another committee, and he's very familiar with the issues, as well as Jim and Fred. We've read these offline, and we're going to discuss them today and hopefully come to a conclusion of what we're going to do with them. So with Jimmy on his way, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and just open the public hearing officially. And can we get maybe Jim to brief us on some of this, or then Dave? How do you want to do this? Who wants to go first? Dave, you want to go first, and then Jim? Tell us, which.
I can. Sure, I can start it if you want. I'll just give you some background information that brought this up. So we originally got this issue from our code officials in terms of code that was not necessarily clear, that could be changed to be more enforceable. So that's what originally took it to the Charter and Code Review Committee. After our discussion, what we came up with is how can we update the code to comply with federally mandated stormwater management requirements. That was our one goal. The second was to clarify it so that we can make it more enforceable. The third was there was a lot of debate around the types of materials that were permeable versus impermeable. So what the intent was here was to take the materials component of the code out, because materials can come and go and change, and to focus on the solution, or how the materials were installed, to make sure that whatever was done still was a pervious solution. So that's what the code attempts to do here. And that's pretty much it. Oh, the other action is to clearly state what aspects of someone's property are to be pervious, right? So a roof cannot be pervious, right? Obviously, because the rain would come through it. So the other attempt we tried to do here in this code change is to be able to define what aspects of someone's property are supposed to be pervious. So those are the 4 things we tried to accomplish with this code change.
All right, thank you, Dave. I guess at this point, I don't have any comments on it. Any planning and zoning members, commissioners have any comments? And we'll get to Jim. See none. So I guess, Jim, you have any perspective from the town or to add?
The town's perspective is that we need a little more clarity to become more all-inclusive as to what is pervious and what is impervious. We noticed that there was a recommendation from the Charter and Code Committee to include something regarding swimming pools, and we have no position on that, but it does state that that would be allowed to be pervious material surrounding the pool, which would be a 3-foot area. And that's what this changes. And it struck out areas, it struck out a section that was included but not limited to poured concrete, asphalt, bricks, and impervious pavers or flagstones. And I believe the intent was to make it more inclusive for all materials. And that's why they struck that out, but they did mention driveways and parking spaces.
Great. All right. Any other comments from Fred or anything at this point?
So the language that regards the area around the swimming pool is, I think currently, or was in conflict with our prohibition against any impervious surface.
Right.
I'm not sure how we treat pools. I guess we're not treating pools themselves as being impervious. And I think some jurisdictions don't. I think Kent County doesn't treat a pool as impervious, but the 3-foot area that's required by state law to surround a pool is considered impervious if it is in fact impervious and would count towards lot coverage. Here we don't allow any impervious surface in town if it's at ground level. So this is meant to recognize that state law requires a walkway of minimum 3 feet to surround a pool for safety reasons. And this is making it clear that if you install a pool that the town can approve.
Agenda back there.
The town can go ahead and approve an impervious surface of 3 feet to surround the pool.
Great. Well, I think that's great research. You guys did your homework to make sure we didn't enact a code in conflict with another code. So whoever at Town Hall worked on that, and we thank them for their thoroughness on that because we don't want conflicting codes. So for the record, Jimmy O'Connor just arrived.
Sorry, Adam. Thank you, guys.
Sorry, so here's where we're at. We adopted agenda, we adopted the meeting minutes that we emailed to you guys. I assume you didn't have any comments on those. And we're in the public hearing, and we're just going around planning zoning commissioners and town and Fred just talked. So, if you have any comments on the pervious side, Dave Lyons briefed us on what it is. It's pretty self-explanatory, and the yellow is a change. That's what we're talking about. So Gales, I think, wants to say something.
Yeah, I just have a comment. Dave Lyons brought it up a little bit earlier. The pavers that are going in, and I noticed, are pervious. Water can go through them. That's being checked. But the subsurface tends to, if you watch people putting in pavers, it tends to be concrete or very well packed concrete dust or stone dust that then I can't believe it's still pervious. The way they're putting them in, I think they're impervious. And therefore, I mean, we had a couple houses that have put stone or pavers, pervious pavers, over about a third of the lot. And what's underneath, I'm wondering, I don't know, I'm just wondering if it's being checked to be pervious versus impervious. So
It's usually like a sandy mixture, and it's usually, technically it's considered pervious, because of the sand, and possibly even the bricks. I'm not sure what's being what to town hall, but I can't remember if the bricks also can be manufactured as
yes, I think they
pervious
are.
also. So, it might look like it's not, but technically it should be if they're approving it because that's the materials.
I know for a fact that our building official does look at it and does require a
Okay.
subsurface to be pervious.
Yeah.
ultimately, if you pack down with all the sand and all the things that come in being in the environment that we're in, it is, and I agree with Commissioner Cook that yes, it can become impervious over a period of time.
I was gonna ask the question of, is there, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but is there a way in which, when applications made throughout the process of a hardscape, a pool, outside space being completed, to have that level check to make sure that it's not becoming impervious? Because if we're packing so hard, so deep, that we might run into an issue with water.
Well, Dave, did you encounter any of these discussions in your code committee discussion?
Yeah, we didn't discuss interim inspections at all. We kind of leave that up to the code enforcement group, but the whole reason we got away from the types of materials and just focused on whatever the solution or the end state is, has to be a permeable solution. So, Dale's point is a good one. It needs to be in such a way that it's installed and still be pervious. That's why we changed the wording to be more around how it is installed rather than specific substrates or materials that would be used to make something impervious or pervious, depending on how it was installed. That's what the nature of the code change was. Suggested change anyway.
Mr. Cook.
So again, it comes down to what we've always had in town. It comes down to enforcement.
That's right.
Yeah, so if the town has a specific time that it enforces, say, that they have to stop and let the town inspect before they go further, that would be fine. But if the town is just winging it and, stopping every so often, then we're not really enforcing it. That's just my thought anyway.
All right, so for record keeping here, we sort of went with the permeable, impervious stuff first. A little cart before the horse, but that's okay. We can discuss both. And now we're going to go to the public, unless anybody else has any comments on the commissioners. None. Public comment. And looks like Gary, Commissioner Persinger, raised his hand.
Yeah, for the record, Gary Persinger, 17 Dickinson Avenue. This is just a comment. The current code and the code as amended, as we propose to amend it here, applies only to residential and mixed-use residential properties. So
Correct.
it wouldn't apply to a solo commercial property. There's no change there.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Your name again and address.
I'm Cindy Souza at 113 West.
Awesome.
I've been an owner there for 37 years, bought from Jack's dad way back when, and have appreciated his grandfather's foresight when he was building the North End about, and I recognize that the cottages are 60-something years old and people want to rebuild. I'm one of those people who rebuilt my house.
Okay.
And Tim O'Hare did it. And I just feel that we really, as Jim knows, I've been emailing he and Bill Zolper and Bill Stevens. I just feel that particularly at the West Street, Chicago Street, Cullen Street in particular, there have been many new houses that have been built that there is, quote, pervious pavers. And I can assure you that they are not pervious because I have seen the flooding. I have seen the impacts of when they tried to then divert the water from their property to the next door neighbors on either side into the street. West Street now has a crack that runs the entire width of the street because one of the houses was diverting water onto the street. But it was their ground was lower, so the water went underneath as well as on top. Fortunately, we're having the street paved next month, and that Bill Zolper assures me that will take care of that problem. But when berms are built so that water is diverted onto other people's houses because they have, 20 feet of driveway that is not permeable, quote, permeable pavers, this causes an issue for all of the surrounding properties. And I don't know if there is a solution to, the Schoenfelds spoke last week at the infrastructure committee. They've had to build a cistern on their property to be able to divert water from the two on either side of them on Jersey Street. Maybe that becomes an answer for anybody wanting to build new construction, to have to build a cistern on their property to help divert water if they're going to do pavers or take up huge amounts of their lots, to be build patios, build pools. So those are my comments. Mhm.
All right, thank you. I don't want to dive into towns, other town issues on buildings, so I'll try to, I won't get too far technical, but they're, policy wise, you guys could look at what's going on with pre and post stormwater runoff, and possibly, I don't know what the code says today on that versus what it could say tomorrow.
The code deals with grading, when you do a new home, and grading. And our dilemma, and we've talked about it quite a bit, is you only have traditionally you only got for in a house that is built between two other houses, there are only 4 areas that you can deal with. All 3 of them go to your neighbors when you grade down, and the 4th one goes to the front, to the street. And most of the homes, we do check. We ask for the surveyors to give us a grading, and they look at it, and they comply, but there's no place to go other than that. And as you know, we've got narrow lots, 50-foot lots, and people are building right to the 8-foot setbacks in the NR district. It's a dilemma. We don't have an answer.
Well, do we have I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Do we have a lot coverage restriction?
Yes.
A percentage of the lot?
There is a lot, but you can build to your setback. It's close to, you've got 5,000 square foot lot. I think you have probably about 15 to 20% of it is usually green space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that the town might work with either Dave's group or the code officials on how you want to manage this. Now, you won't want to hear this, or other people might not want to hear this, but it all comes down to money. So if you're going to build this big house and you want to manage it, then you're talking a stormwater system in the street, better than what you got now. And that's big dollars. But that's policy is beyond planning and zoning. An engineer can solve any problem. It's a matter of how much money do you have to solve the problem, or what's the most efficient way. And I'll leave it at that and punt to Dave, Lyon, and Jim.
No, you're absolutely correct. And we are looking at one of our terrible streets for flooding is New Jersey. And we do have a proposal, at least we've gotten some tentative estimates that are coming in to what it would take to create a stormwater tie-in to the King Charles area. But it's street by street. And as you know, Reed Avenue is one of our biggest problems.
Yep, and there's grant money, addressing, and the town has been very aggressive in grant money as well as other agencies. So there's only so much grant money to go around, but the grant money helps, but then there's a cost share. And who pays for that? That becomes, the town has to look at ways to pay for that. There's many studies and ways, stormwater utility fees and things like that come into play. Nothing with planning and zoning today, so I'll just stop going down any paths like that and get back onto the ordinance. I think that, is there anyone else that want to comment on the stormwater ordinance at this point? So I think the way the agenda reads is we do the public hearing on the next one, and then we close, and then we do the action. So if you guys are okay, we'll push this impervious over to the side for now. Seeing no more comments, and we will go to smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Forgot to ask one thing. Is there anyone online, Kate? Okay. So with that being said, again, we'll defer to Dave, who's got the historical background, and then to Town Hall to talk about the carbon monoxide detectors, if you're okay with that, Dave. With your mic's off, Dave, I think.
There you go. How's that? Better?
Yeah.
All right. So our current code is silent on carbon monoxide detectors. There's nothing in there. The IBC International Building Code does require carbon monoxide detectors. We obviously adopted that standard as part of our code. And so the suggestion the Charter and Code Committee came up with was to adopt the Delaware State Code Title 16 restrictions or guidelines for carbon monoxide detectors. And so the code was the suggested change you have basically embraces that Title 16 code that the state has put out. That's really what it is. So we're not really inventing the wheel. We're just copying what the state has done and suggesting to insert it into the town's code.
Thank you, Dave. Was there, when I have propane gas at my house in Newark, and I have propane gas in my condo here in Dewey Beach. And, I assume that they're here in Dewey, it's in compliance, a relatively new structure. And at home, the propane gas was added after the fact at my house. And so we bought a carbon monoxide detector. But when you buy one of those, they're expensive, with the battery. They also say that they're explosive gas detector. So I didn't see any, I don't know if any of the research that you're doing, if they saw is there any requirements for, explosive gas? Because it seems like there's a carbon monoxide detector when you buy it and it says / explosive gas. So maybe it all comes as one, but something for you to consider, I guess, maybe Dawn could look that up or something. If we recommend this, to just check that. Is there any other language you might want to consider? I won't go down that road today because I don't know if that's needed or not. It sounded like we're duplicating the state code here, which is awesome. But just as a comment, Dave, that never came up, and maybe Jim, when you're get back with Dawn, maybe she can look that up, just make sure we do or do not want to add anything about explosive gas. This is pretty self-explanatory. Dave did his briefing. Jim, anything you got to add to this?
No, I think it's pretty clear.
Okay. Fred, anything?
Not that I know of, no.
All right. So the code, this draft ordinance was posted, and the highlighted changes are shown in the yellow and the strikes, and underlined is the adders. So I don't have any comments. Anyone else on the Planning and Commissioners? Dale?
The only comment I have is that if this is passed, the town needs to add carbon monoxide detectors to their list that homeowners affirm that they have in their home.
Good idea.
We don't do inspections, unfortunately, but if it needs to be added to the list.
Yeah, Dale, you're correct. We did discuss that. That would be part of, the rental application process. Anybody that's going to rent their home out would have to certify that they've complied with this new statute, new rule.
Well, there is a present list of what safety items that the homeowners affirm to, but so this needs to be added to that
Added
list.
to it. Right, correct.
All right. Great comment. Now we'll go to public hearing. It's open to public hearing, and it looks like we have a comment.
I'm a realtor in real life, so
Oh, wow. Okay.
so I deal with carbon monoxide detectors, et cetera. You may want to say that only 10-year lithium battery carbon monoxide detectors are permitted, because otherwise you can have a plug in. What happens if a tenant takes the plug out to put something else in? Or takes the battery out because it's beeping or whatever. So that would be my suggestion, is that it be a 10-year lithium battery carbon monoxide detector.
So if we recommended that, Fred,
So I can imagine somebody being irritated by the smoke alarm beeping and taking the battery out. But if there's
Sometimes they're dual though,
okay.
and smoke detectors.
But if you weren't cooking and the carbon monoxide alarm started going off, might you think you have a potential problem?
You might want to leave.
More than just taking the battery out of the detector? So this is modeled after the state requirement.
Over at the Starboard first, I don't know.
yeah.
And this is state, you said?
Yes.
My understanding is, yeah, that this language was lifted from the state code.
Okay. My only comment would be, I'd also like to see, maybe the commission or leading up to that next meeting, if it's approved, look at some area towns and some of the different programs that they offer. If I'm not mistaken, I think Lewis has packages for rentals, for owners. I think Bethany does as well. I think it's very important that, much like we do when we look at other towns for situations, that we are in line, A, with the state, as well as that we are not behind the 8 ball for future devastation like carbon monoxide and fire.
So you're thinking that if someone does recommend this in a motion, that they add to that, include a quick review of other township policies?
Just to make sure that we're in line, as well as in line with the state, as we are, as you said, it's been copied from the state, but just to make sure that maybe we're not leaving something out that could be a big pro.
Okay.
Innovation's a great thing.
So the recommendation might include something like include a review of other township policies to make sure that we're not leaving any proactive actions out.
Absolutely.
And that's something I think, Dawn or somebody could just do a quick Google of a couple towns nearby.
Sure.
Who should be willing to do that. Awesome.
And this is very non-substantive, but the language that appears at line 56, I think would be appropriate for the synopsis, but it wouldn't go into the code, I don't think.
Correct.
So,
Yeah. All right. So any other comments from the public? Anyone online? Again, Kate, nobody? All right. I don't see any comments in the public. Commissioners, no comments. So I guess we will move towards closing the public hearing and move to action items. And first one is the smoke detector. So discuss and possibly vote to recommend to town council an ordinance to amend 185-21 smoke detectors of the municipal code related to smoke and carbon monoxide detectors that we just talked about. So is anyone willing to do propose a recommendation for this ordinance to town commissioners?
I'll make the motion. I would suggest that we go ahead and adopt or make the recommendation that we adopt this ordinance change and send it off to the commissioners for their review.
With Jack's recommendation.
And what about Jack's? Are you going to include Jack's recommendation?
Absolutely. I would also say include Jack's suggestion, as well as we should look into the 10-year battery. I think those two things should be included.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, Jack seconds that. So now we're up for vote. Let's do individual votes.
For
Dave?
our purposes, could you specify what his recommendation was?
Did you write yours down?
Yeah, I wrote it down. The recommendation, if you want me to read it, Jack,
Do you need me
to include a review of other township policies to make sure that we're not leaving any proactive action items out of the recommendation.
That seems like that would be a constant review.
I would just be a one-time review before it goes to, the recommendations go to town commissioners, if you're okay with that.
I would prefer that it be referred to separately as a recommendation to the commissioners,
Okay.
not included in this. And if they want to put it in, then let them put it in. But I just,
No, we don't have it in the code.
yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back to, we had a second, so we discussed, so we want to go back.
I don't think that Jack was saying add any language to the ordinance necessarily.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
He was just saying when it's
Yes.
up for final consideration, perhaps staff could say what they have learned, if anything, from
Correct.
the local municipality.
In the presentation of this item,
Okay.
if we could have something substance, maybe a packet or maybe a handout that says Bethany, Lewis, Ocean View are offering these programs or situations to make us feel that much better that what we're doing is getting us up to, 2024 and for the near future. So,
I'll take that on as my
Thank you,
mission.
Jim. Okay, so
Thank you.
okay, so
Okay,
that
that would be my
clarifies
responsibility.
so that clarifies the motion. Basically, we're looking at this ordinance and we're up ready for the vote. So Dave, why don't you go first?
I'm going to vote in favor.
All right, Jack,
I vote in favor as well.
In favor as well.
in favor myself.
I think it benefits the town. I vote in favor.
All right, that's unanimous approval for recommendation of the ordinance with the action item that Jim took on the side, not to be put into the ordinance. And I think we close that one out. And we move on to the next action item, which is discuss, possibly vote, and recommend to town council an ordinance to amend chapter 18551 accessory buildings and structures of the municipal code relating to impervious surface requirements as the draft ordinance was posted. We talked about it, and now we're looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion with one question.
All right.
The 3 feet, that was from the state, correct?
Yes,
That's what that's state
that's what
code.
the state did, and we followed the
Thank you.
state's.
Then yes, I'll make a motion.
All right, for a second.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll second
Jimmy,
it.
Jimmy with the second. Any discussion? I don't have any. Jack, anybody have any discussion on it? None? I see
Oh, I
none.
got a question.
Got a question from
Yeah.
Commissioner Cook?
Yeah, I apologize for dragging it out.
Sorry.
Why is the swimming pool walkway allowed to be impervious? What's the purpose?
I think it's cost. Yes.
From what well, Dave, you were involved.
Yeah, I can give you a little background on that, and you know, the group can choose to accept or not, but with the discussion centered around if it was an pervious that as dirt or anything came up around the swimming pool, that it could easily then flow into the swimming pool, making a mess. So by making the 3 feet around the pool impervious, that would keep any kind of dirt, anything to fall into the pool. So that was the
That
logic
answers
of the
it.
discussion.
That answers it.
We're so glad you had that background, Dave.
Thank you,
Much
Dave.
appreciated. All right, let's see. So I think we had did we have a second from Jimmy?
Yeah.
And discussion, any more discussion? See
my
none?
God,
Looks
I'm
like
sorry.
somebody's looking for Dale. Let's go ahead with the vote. Dave, you want to go first?
I'm gonna vote in favor of the ordinance change.
All right.
I'll vote as well in favor.
In favor as well.
Jimmy, and I'll vote in favor for the reasons we talked about earlier.
Same with me, for the reasons we've talked about previously, I vote in favor.
So that's a unanimous recommendation of the ordinance as posted. And now we get down to committee member comments. We do have a meeting on Friday, I think it's March 1st, 5 o'clock. And we definitely need those who said, I think it's us guys here have said we'd be there. Are you going to be able to make that one, Dave? March 1st?
Yes, no problem. I can do it 10 by Zoom, no problem.
You'll be online, right?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. All right, and then we will, any other comment?
5 o'clock, right?
5 o'clock. Yeah, March 1st, yeah. Friday, it's a Friday, 5 o'clock. Any other comments? I see none, and we will motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, Dale, second.
First, second, third.
Jimmy with the second. All in favor, aye, we're out.
I
Thank you all.
apologize, everybody.